Hi everyone, welcome to my video. Today I just wanted to show a bit about my game engine and share it with my friends. In the background here I'm just logging in to the system and at the top here I can choose what project to work on, which is currently Dead Desert. And in here we can see on the left hand side there is most of the objects that I need in my system, tile sets, sprites, things like that. And I can just navigate through and see those objects in the system. Now, this software you're seeing right now is a bit of old code I wrote 10 years ago in PHP for a different game, in fact. But I repurposed it to create this, and it allows me to add all sorts of different objects and items into the game really quickly. Now, if we look at the top here, we can see there's lots of different categories, and those categories are added in the item types here. So if I go into add a new type, I can create a new category, let's say cars for example, and just below this we'll also put in a program name for this, which is essentially just something without spaces in it. And down at the bottom here we can add some attributes or properties to this object, things like how many wheels does it have, set that data type to number, and things like maybe how does it use stick shift or not. So let's set that to a boolean, and we can add more if we want, but for now we'll just add that to the system. A little bit of debugging here, but that's just while I'm working on it. And if we scroll down the list of categories here, we can see cars has now been added. So if we click onto cars now, we can add a new type of car, and we can see this form is already pre-built for the things that we'll need to fill in for this. So at the top we'll come up with a new car, let's call it a Mustang, and again give it a code name which we can access from within my game. There is some extra metadata here if you want to take advantage of it, things like stackable and premium items, but we'll set the wheel count here to 5 for no apparently good reason. Set the stick shift to no, and then save that, and that'll be added to the system here below. Again, if we want to add a new one to the system, we can just clone that existing one, make our changes, and save that to the system. It just goes straight in. And so now that's in the system, I suppose the question is, how do we access that data from within the game? So let me go ahead and generate a link that will show you how that works. And so here it is, just simply a web page, a URL, and that URL has the information about what data we want to extract. So if I just say cars underscore, it's going to grab every category from cars, and we can see here it's put the data into this file, and we can use that data in JavaScript or in another application if we wanted it to. You can see here it's actually JavaScript that's being generated here and not just simply JSON. It could be JSON if we wanted it to, but if we wanted to do more complex things like functions and things like that, that doesn't work in JSON. So if we make a change here and refresh the data, we can see that the value has changed. So when we generate this in the development version, we can see that change straight away, and when we roll it up for production, that change and that script will be in there. And that same thing applies for creating more complex things like components. So if we look here, we have a component called button, and one of the properties of that is a block of code which says how to generate that button, which wouldn't work in JSON but will allow us to execute it if we represent that as a JavaScript object. And we can see here, if I edit that code now, I've got this other little editor that just essentially shows me that bit of a component, and I can make the changes to that component if I want to. So what about more advanced types? Things like objects which have properties with children. So this is where you've got a property, and within that property might be multiple sets of data. So again, we can just quickly create a new object here, create a new variable, set its data type to children, and then now we can add as many children as we want to that data type. So we'll just go ahead and add those, and we can see as well, we can even make a child a parent as well, so it can have siblings and children. So if we go into the form to add that now, we can see it's also added those parents and children to that form. And this can get really complex. You can make some really complex data structures with this. And so what do we do with the data? Well, I use it in my level editor. So if I look at the engine here, everything that is in that database that I was just showing you is also in this list of items here. So if I want, I can go ahead and just click one of those objects, click the tick, and that adds it to the world. And this could be anything even more complex. So if I wanted a container with armor inside it, for example, I can add that into the world, open it up, and there is the container. Equally, if I want to add functions like this make all for function, which if we just go into the code here, it's bootstrapped in. So if I go to the bootstraps, go to the utilities, and go to the make object for utility, we can see the code here. It's just a couple of lines of code, and if I click that, we can see the objects just fall from the sky, which is just for fun, really. It's not anything serious, just a bit of a exercise in playing with the code. And yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, let me know what you think in the comments.